going to do it again today. He's right at the back though, isn't he? We've got some 62 athletes in the men's field. Sorry, 76. I'm thinking of the women's. 76 athletes, and Johannes Husflug-Klæbo setting off bib number 68. Only one further seeded athlete behind him, and that's Paul Goldberg, who led the overall distance event last year. Second position at the moment. Well, the spectators are just coming in as Amundsen, there he is wearing yellow. He's ahead at the moment. He'll remain ahead today no matter what happens, but I think Johannes Husflug-Klæbo thinks there may well be a chance of hauling him in. It's unlikely.
It's unlikely, but again, he can rack up the points, sprint after sprint after sprint. He's got to be feeling pretty good about that, and he'll get good points on the distance, even if he's not quite as dominant. So I think Amundsen's got a good lead, and he's been so consistent, which is what you need to be the overall leader. So I think if he can just keep chipping away at being there or thereabouts every time, that's what you need to do to keep it.
Just keep the points ticking. What about Erik Valnes? What a shame yesterday he didn't make it into the top 30, so losing out on so many precious points. He started the day, or the time trial, as leader of the sprint competition, and now of course he's handed it over to Johannes Husflug-Klæbo.
It was a real surprise not to see him qualify. We do know that Valnes is a little stronger in classic than skate, but he's still a good skate skier by any means, and not to qualify was really surprising, and maybe just suggests that a bit of tiredness coming in at the end of the season, and just starting to feel the impact of all the racing he's done to date.
Yep, possibly it's all adding up here. Jens Burman, he tried to break free last weekend. He really shook up the field. He got a 12-second lead. Very hard to break away in a mass start. That was over 20 kilometres in Canmore last week. They hauled him in eventually, but I think that indicated to me, Posey, Jens Burman has got confidence, he's got form, and I think in the time trial today, he's not really a sprint finisher. I think he's got a good chance.
He's been in really good form since Christmas time. I think before Christmas maybe wasn't quite there, possibly had a little bit of illness, I think, as well. But since the Tour de Ski, we had some good results in that as well, and he's really built on that, and he's been consistent. With a fourth place in Toblach, so just off the podium in the 10K Classic there. So, yeah, definitely on his day he can be up there, and it does feel like he's improved as the season's gone along.
I think so, and it's been some time, hasn't it, since in distance racing, a Swedish athlete in the men's field. In fact, it was way back in 2017 in Quebec City when they last took the 15-kilometre. Well, here we are in the middle of Minneapolis. The city is spreading around the whole track here. It's really central to the big city of Minneapolis. Well, the athletes have loved the Canmore trip. They're loving this trip here, and everyone's so friendly, they're saying. And actually, they've done a lot of research, the spectators. They know their top athletes. They know all the athletes, and they're giving a good shout out. It's a lovely feeling when you get some attention on a foreign land as you're racing around. After Minneapolis, this is the last day here. We move on to 1st and 3rd of March to Lahti, then Oslo, then Drammen. That's just the sprint race on the final day, and then the final 3-4 days of racing up in the middle of Sweden in Falun. Always an exciting end to the season. As we look at the pictures of this fabulous track here, Posey, just thinking the Americans today in the men's field. Of course, we know the great Jesse Diggins is really motivated to take another victory. In the men's field, the Americans are well turned out. 12 athletes are represented.
Yeah, I think they're missing their biggest star on the men's side. Ben Ogden, unfortunately, has been traditionally better in sprint, but can pull out a good distance race as well. But he's unfortunately got glandular fever, so out for the rest of the season. So they're going to be relying on some of their other athletes to step up today.
Possibly Scott Patterson, maybe Gus Schumacher. They're both there, and midfield, if you like, or just under midfield.
Yeah, I think Gus Schumacher had a brilliant day yesterday in the sprint. He qualified 4th fastest, so that was excellent from him. Didn't quite manage to pull it through to getting through the quarterfinals, but shows he's got some good speed on him.
Certainly does. Ugo Lapalus, 3rd in the overall Tour de Ski, and Friedrich Moch was 2nd on the last day. That's the Super tough climb up to the top of Alp Charamis. Perttu Hivarinen, well, he's more a classic athlete, really, and he took his first ever win. What was that? Just before Christmas, I think it was, in Italy, in Toblach. 54, having a look around, that's Kalle Halfarsson. I keep believing in him. I would love for him to make a podium. And here is Amundsen. Deep thinker, a very serious athlete, and you know he's had such a tight focus this whole season. So welcome back. Just a few minutes before, well, 5-6 minutes before the start of the race. Just having a look at the big hopes for today, or the perceived big hopes. It's always nice to get a surprise as well, Posey. Could it be Kruger again? He had his first season win, which is unusual for him, actually. That was just last weekend in Canmore.
I think he was in fearsome form, so for me, Kruger's got to be the favourite, I think. And the interval start format really suits him. He said that last weekend he was really frustrated because that 15k mass start was supposed to be an interval start.
Very good day yesterday. What is your plan today?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it yesterday, so I'm excited for today. It's a bit longer today, so maybe not expect the same result today, but hopefully my body will maybe respond as good as yesterday. So I hope to be fighting for a good result in the end.
We did not have a 10k individual start in Canmore, but we have it today. How do you like this format?
It's going to be my first race this season for 10k, so a bit rusty maybe. So I have to set up a good plan to find myself in a good pace in the first lap, and hopefully my body will be enjoying that pace and be ready for the two lasts.
And the expectations for the Vibe here in Minneapolis?
Yeah, it's been crazy. The atmosphere is really, really nice. So I'm really enjoying it here. So it's been amazing.
Good luck today.
Thank you.
Well, that's excellent to hear from a very early starter, Havard Solas Taupo. He's early because, well, really he's a sprinter. And as he said there, it's his first 10-kilometer of the season. I don't know what to expect really from him. I think he could produce a top 20. He is really a sprinter, isn't he? But it's quite an unknown, actually.
Yeah, I think he'll have I don't think any of these Norwegians are ever too far off the pack. I think he certainly will be not, as he said, not battling for the podium places like he was yesterday. But I think he can have a respectable day. There are quite a few sprinters that are starting today, Mike. I don't know if it's something about just this last race and then quite a big gap. They've got a week to recover, so 2 weeks until the next World Cup. But more sprinters than usual having a go today.
Yeah, that is unusual, and that's partly, isn't it, because we've had 3 sprint races on this North American tour, Canada, and now in North America, and of course teams had to bring the sprinters, so get them out there, make them ski, and it'll be interesting. Certainly, I'm just thinking of Chapard, Jules Chapard, the French team. He's been taking part in a number of distance races this season, and brilliant, actually. I think he was 7th last week.
Yeah, in Canmore, almost I'd say had a better go of it in the distance races than he did in the sprint. So absolutely there are some who mature. You know, some people do choose to stay as pure sprinters their whole career, but a lot of people, you know, when you're younger you tend to do both sprint and distance. No one specializes early. Sometimes you almost get forced into it because that's what spots you can get, and then as you get older you're back to distance racing.
So welcome back. It's a warm day, actually. Well, air temperature's minus 1.8, but the sun is making it feel so much better, warmer. The snow is compact, the track is beautiful.
This course
and
has some subtly challenging climbing sections because they're very gradual, and it's going to take the athletes a lot of powerful skiing. They're going to be doing 3 laps around this course, so just like the sprint, it's going to start out on a nice flat section, sweep around, they're going to go up that gradual climb that they do on the sprint course, but then they're going to dip off the backside and they're going to do some rollers, so that's going to really test the ability to transition. Then as they come around the backside of the course, there's going to be some turns. So there's not a lot of straight rest on the downhills here. They're going to have to be working every second of this course, and then they'll drop back down and have that long gradual section back into the stadium here. So the stadium section alone, it's kind of like what we see in Davos, where there's just a lot of big, open, powerful skiing. I'm so excited. We haven't had a U.S. World Cup here for 23 years, and so I think the excitement has literally been building for 20 years.
Well, thanks to Kickin Randall, former. She won 5 races in a season. Of course, Jessie Diggins had equalled that and now has just bettered that last weekend in Canmore. So Jessie's on 6 victories in one season. I like that dip off and do some rollers. It's a very much a roller coaster of a track, I think more so than we've ever seen.
I think it's a huge contrast to Canmore last week, which had one long brutal climb out of the start, so it was very consistent up to the about halfway point of the lap. You were working up and then it was downhill quite fast at the stadium. This is all up and down, but nothing, no huge climbs. If there's categories of different climbs, A climb being the hardest, no A climbs on this, but not a lot of rest either, so it's going to be all about, you say, the people that can work the different transitions.
Very much, and yes, as you say, there's no major long tough climbs as we've seen last weekend in Canmore, but these undulations are not going to give any rest whatsoever. What do you think about Andrew Musgrave today? Of course, your brother, he certainly looked good yesterday.
Yeah, I'm biased, but I think he's going to have a good one today. I think when they flew over to North America, he was ill for a couple of days, so unfortunately didn't have a great race in the skate distance in Canmore, which you'd usually expect him to do. He was down in sort of late 20s, but came back to form 7th in the Classic, and then he was 33rd yesterday, and that's his best sprint result of a couple of years. And for me, that shows he's feeling back on good form, got a bit of speed behind him, and the form that he had earlier in the season is back.
I think it is, and so BIP 46 will keep an eye out for Andrew Musgrave. Certainly looked great yesterday, and what a season he's had. His personal best, or the second in the skiathlon, just in behind Klæbo in that skiathlon in Trondheim. That's his home base. Felt like home for him, didn't it?
It did, and he had, as well as that, some really good results just earlier in the interval starts in Gällivare and Östersund and Brücke. So that format does suit him. He doesn't have that great sprint at the end necessarily, although obviously did very well in Trondheim. So I think he's going to be it's the first time they've had an opportunity to do this in a while, and I think he's looking forward to it.
Yes, and I think 46 is a good bib for Andrew Musgrave. He'll get onto the slipstream of a good athlete. So the athletes just really going through the final stages. They've the early starters have had their warm-up. Now it's just getting out of the heavy gear before they break free from the gate here. An all change of clothing. Some are opting not to have thermals underneath their ski suit, which is quite sensible in these warm temperatures. The Lycra suits, they boil, don't they, when you wear them in the summer?
I think so, and -2 by some of the races standards that we've had this year is nothing at all. We've had minus 16, 17 in the early season, remember, back in Gällivare, so I think this is a nice bit of sunshine and some slightly warmer temperatures, and crucially much less windy than yesterday. That wind was a pretty cold wind. You can see all the spectators were bundled up, but still a little bit. You can see the flags flying there, but eased off compared to yesterday.
It has, and you mentioned that -17 up in Gällivare. That Paul Goldberg won that day, and I think today's course may well suit him. It's an undulating course. Here is Hunter Wonders. Good to see him back. Only 2 races this season, and personal best is an 11th place. That was a couple of seasons ago. So he has the potential, and really he'll have the motivation with so much noise around him for this 3.3 kilometre track.
It's a big responsibility being first off. I think there's no splits or anything to follow, and so that can be a good thing, but it can be easy to get carried away. So he's just got to find that good pace and just stick steadily with that.
It's tough, isn't it? Here's Oscar Svensson. He's had 1 win to his career. He's definitely more a sprinter. Let's have a look. He's only done 1 distance race this season. That was 20 kilometres. He came 56. That was in Goms before the tour moved over here.
Yeah, quite a few sprinters in these early starters, as we said just now, just getting the opportunity to get a run out in the distance races while they're here.
Very good to see Hugo Hinkfors. He's only 20. He raced actually 2 years ago at the Olympic Games for Australia, and he did quite well. So his journey, it's a journey where he's gaining experience all the way.
Yeah, and he's we have not seen him on the World Cup this year, but I think he is racing over in the States in one of the US colleges, which is quite an interesting model that a few skiers from different nations have chosen to do if the national team setup isn't, quite working for them, or they need to do something else on top. So good to see him getting a start.
Certainly is, and the university system is great. Miha Simonets, 28-year-old from Logatec, somewhat 25 kilometres, 30 kilometres southeast of Lost me. The capital city? No, I can't believe I've lost that.
It's a good test of your geography.
I've been there. I should remember, but I will throughout the program. So this is the athletes. Before they start, they sign this glass panel here to say that they are clean and not doing anything that may enhance them. Christopher Kalev from Estonia, the 24-year-old. It's only his 5th World Cup outing today, so another big learning experience.
Yeah, another one in the college system as well. So as I say, it's good. I think a good chance for some guys who might not normally get the World Cup because it's over here. Some of the smaller teams don't have the budget to bring the full team. You know, getting that experience of a World Cup. So good for them. But
here's James Clooney. 8th yesterday. He was hoping to make that top 6. He's done it once in Davos. And his distance racing, Posey, is really, really lifting. 26th position in Goms Valley, and actually not far at all, time-wise, off the best.
Yeah, he's certainly, I think his sprinting's maybe not been quite where he'd want it to be until yesterday, which was far and away his best result of the season. But his distance, I think, has really come on, and I think that that good result yesterday, that for me bodes well that he can have a good race today as well.
I feel the same, without a doubt. Peter Walter, the 25-year-old, Sun Valley Education Fund supporting him. 8th World Cup outing, again, building experience. 36, I thought he did well in Canmore. That was over 15-kilometre freestyle. So definitely real potential for the future for the American team. Joe Davies, we just saw there, another 3 British athletes today. As Michael Earnhardt about to get his experience. Only 21-year-old. What an experience to have as a 21-year-old. 47th in Canmore, and wouldn't surprise me if he does better than that today with all of this home support.
I think so, and as you say, these are his first ever World Cups, in Canmore last weekend and then here again this weekend. And also it's great to have the opportunity to do 2 weekends in a row because you learn so much so quickly in your first World Cups, just things about the setup and how to deal with the pressure and the different processes.
Oh, and just dealing with nerves as well, really, isn't it? 2nd World Cup ever for Walker Hall. 21-year-old, 67th yesterday, so he was round the tracks yesterday. He's not really a sprinter, and I think he may well do better. He was at the Junior World Champs, 41st over 10 kilometres. Classic.
Yeah, all these guys, Earnhardt, Hall and Bushy, who we're seeing now, are all just 21 as well, so fairly young, and yeah, good sort of first experience for them.
I said yes, as you say, Brian Bushy from Park City, beautiful down there, that Soldier Hollow area. Great place for training, and the Americans are so lucky. So many great places for training. 21st at the Junior Worlds last week, which was pretty good, I think, for Brian Bushy. So the big names with respect to those starting out early, could Hubbard, Solas Taubol be the... Well, he is. He's the first of the big guns. He's won World Cups. He's been on the podium around 10 times from memory. He's 30-year-old now. And, of course, this is, he said earlier in the interview, his first outing over 10 kilometres this season.
I think this is going to be interesting for just an early marker. I think it'll be the times that some of those later athletes will have to, as a bit of a benchmark. I do think it will get passed, but of these early starters, his ranking is what it is, just because he purely hasn't done so many distance races.
It's going to be an experience. Inian Sosao, he's good all-rounder, really, but more a sprinter, you could argue. 30th yesterday, he wanted and expected a lot better, but maybe he can provide that today.
Yeah, and it's really his first full season on the World Cup, so it's really for him all about just building experience of getting a load of races under his belt. And the German team for me are quite interesting at the moment. They've got quite a number of young up-and-comers in the men's and the women's side, and they're just letting them race and giving them the experience.
And there's no harm in that. You need to learn your trade. Adam Fellner, 30-year-old from the Czech Republic. Personal best, 21st, that was at the skiathlon at the World Championships last year, so definitely has the potential. Samuel Gary Henry from Canmore. He is the first of the Canadians. Many Canadians in this lineup today. Personal best is 21st. which I thought was excellent in Canmore last weekend.
Yeah, and 30th in the skate last weekend as well. So a really good result all round. And he's just grasped this opportunity that he's been given to get these starts. So I'm sure he'll be looking to do the same again. Just starting to get a couple of splits through. Hunter Wonders is through 3.1, so nearly finished his first lap. It's going to be fast. He's coming in a 6:45 for 3.1, so he's going to be just over 7 minutes for one loop.
That is incredibly fast. Here's Alvar Johannes Alev from Estonia, the 30-year-old, southeastern Estonia he's from. A place called, little town called Tori. 35th in Canmore. And again, a very different course profile here. That course last weekend was all up and then all back down to the stadium. Joe Davies did well, very well at the Junior World Championships, the Under-23 Championships in Planica just last week. So a bit of jet lag probably still felt throughout his body. Time changes are not easy.
Yeah, quite a few racers here who missed the first weekend in Canmore, sort of US-Canadian racers, because they were at the Under-23s or World Juniors and now coming in today. So a little bit less recovery from the jet lag. But I think it's almost like he is, of course, skiing for GB, but is at college in the States, sort of grew up in Canada as well. So almost a little bit like home soil for him.
It is, as David Norris, vastly experienced, an athlete, then a coach, and then now an athlete again, if I'm right, Posey?
I think still a coach, but an athlete at the same time, and a very fast one considering he's coaching. So one for the coaches today if he can get another good result in.
And David Norris, remember he fell last week early on the first lap when all the athletes were together over 20 kilometres. He got back up, dusted himself off, finished 33rd. Well, this is now further out. This isn't part of the course we were on yesterday, up to 1.9 kilometres. And I think this is one of the steepest climbs.
Yeah, so there's no huge climbs on this course, as we saw from that course preview, but there's some steady ones like this. So this is about the third climb in the course, and none of them are long. We're looking at, maybe 30 seconds or so, maybe a minute from bottom to top, which is, compared to somewhere like Canmore, it was sort of 5-6 minutes of continuous climbing. It's not as long, but the flip side, of course, as we've been saying, is there just isn't a lot of recovery at all.
Well, I think we'd all expect Taugbol to improve on that early time, but Brian Bushy looked so relaxed coming up here. Well, actually, having made that big prediction, he's actually not going to set a new best time.
Starting steady, I think, is what he's doing, and it is really important in these kind of courses that because there's no recovery, you have to find the pace that works for you, and then you just have to try and hold it. I think if you go off too fast, there's not a lot of time to come back again.
Olivier Levey starting now, the second of the Canadians out on the track, starting his journey. It's only 22. Third at the Junior Worlds, actually. That was 3 years ago, 2021. Over 10 kilometres free, so it's certainly matching up. He's got real talent, real potential. Jonas Baumann, he's 33 years old now, and 14 years of World Cup racing, vastly experienced.
Yeah, one of the most experienced racers out there. So yeah, he'll be enjoying skiing on a new course today, first time round. And again, we often see this in these interval starts. It's so we've had the first people come through at about 7:10 for their first lap. So that means already, if you're starting now, you've still got a relatively early bib number. We'll start to see quite a lot of trains forming of people from different laps all coming together.
Yeah, that absolutely will. What an advantage setting off later to get in behind one of these, starting early, so you get in behind one of these faster-legged athletes. Vuorinen, he certainly is fast, maybe a little more effective in terms of classic style than today's freestyle.
Yeah, and again, I think another sprinter. He's had some pretty good results over the last couple of weeks. Fourth in Canmore in the classic sprint there, so got to be hoping to ride off that kind of those great results that he's had.
Well, what a cheer for John Steele Hagenbuch. He came third at the Under-23 World Championships, some 9 days ago. So very much on form, and he was so close. Well, a podium's good enough. He was so close to the silver, and a little further off the gold. So Hagenbuch out on his journey. I think a lot of the young American athletes will be so excited to be racing at home. I think they'll get their pacing with respect, a little too aggressive on the first lap.
I think, yeah, we'll see that, you know, it's people always get told just focus on it, like imagine like it's any other race, but it's so much harder to do that in practice.
Richard Jouve, he's more renowned as a sprinter, but really has improved in recent times in terms of his distance racing. So I think Richard Jouve will set I'll maybe get it right this time, the early 1.9 time. Zandon, McMullen, there's good spirit in this American team from the World Cup lads. They really work for each other, support each other. Zandon's only 22 now. 23rd in Canmore last week. I thought that was a really good performance.
Yeah, it was a strong performance. So I think another one to keep an eye out on today for those early times, certainly.
Just looking at 3.3, Taubol is now leading some 3.7 seconds ahead of Brian Boucher, so slowly picking up his pace. Simon Dapra, well, he made for the first time, was it last weekend, the finals in a sprint competition?
I mean, it was actually just yesterday.
It was, it's a blur. I thought he did in Canmore as well. My notes, I need to look a little more closely at them.
It all blurs into one.
It's been a busy couple of weekends. Jules Chapard, off he goes. And I think pacing looks very comfortable here for Chapard with his brilliant performance last weekend. And in Goms Valley over distance, he very much is improving.
Yeah, and I think this will be quite an interesting hill to keep an eye out on, I think, because we'll see a lot of people staying in skate 2, this technique where you're pulling every side the whole way up the hill, and that's quite a powerful technique. And I think that if you can see people are still able to do that on their second and third lap, that's when you know they've managed to just about keep the pacing a little bit more steady and manage to keep something in the tank.
Well, it is about keeping something in the tank. Lukas Bugel, 33-year-old now, vastly experienced. Personal best of 4th. That was on the final day of the Tour de Ski some years ago. So very strong when it comes to climbing. 33rd in Canmore last weekend, and that's a good indicator, isn't it? So probably hoping for a top 30, top 25 would be a good day.
Yeah, I think top 30 would be good.
William Peroma, just having a final phone call? He's on in about 5 minutes, 4 minutes. What's he doing? Cyril Feindrich found the podium, didn't he, in Val de Fiemme in the mass start, 15
unbelievable
kilometers.
It
was incredible.
It was a very tactical race, stayed very close together, but he made a move no one was quite looking for and got himself a podium as a reward for that.
And what a difference a good glide pair of skis on any given day make. He said his skis were outstanding. Great to see Thomas Maloney Vesgaard, the Irishman, very popular athlete around the hotels or where the athletes are staying. Come on, give me some cheer. Bring it on. 14th last week, very much on form.
Yeah, wearing the Akadali colours there, so that's the team that the GB skiers are with as well. In fact, that's Joe just going through there, so he might get a team train going along there if he can just do a little bit of work to get on the back of those ones.
Well, yes, Joe Davies will go try and tuck in behind him when he comes past. I'm assuming he will come past. Florian Notz, 124 World Cup starts to his name, so another vastly experienced athlete. 13th last weekend. Loved it. He looked good.
In fact, just to say it, that we had just a very quick glimpse of Joe Davies as he came through, and he is in first place at the moment after one lap. So there have only been 17 people through, so it's early days at the moment, but a good solid result from those early starters for him at the moment.
Scott Patterson, 8th at the Olympic Games over the toughest of days and the toughest of races, 50 kilometres. He's a mechanical engineer. His 8th in Canmore last weekend equaled that brilliant Olympic position. So he must be feeling pretty good today, Scott Patterson.
I think he likes the longer it is and the tougher it is, the more he likes it. So he might be thinking he'd like a few more long climbs like in Canmore, but certainly skate races, interval starts, I think that really suits him. And so here, as we were saying, we've got a bib 9, which is Walker Hall, just managing to stick with Richard Jouve here. So if he can manage to stay with Jouve for a couple of laps, that's going to really bump him up the rankings. I'm
impressed to even try at that age, at that stage in his career. 41 World Cup starts for Gustav Berglund. I would say much more a sprinter than a distance athlete.
Yeah, and then if we hopefully we'll get a glimpse behind of Mats Stenshagen, bib 34, who again, here he is, of the early starters, I think this has got to be the one to watch. So of the Norwegian team, he's the only one who's not ranked in the seeded group for either sprint or distance. That's because he's come from the Scandinavian Cup circuit. But first podium last weekend, on very, very good form indeed.
He certainly is. And so interesting, this season, 7 athletes from one nation. It's never happened in the season previously. 7 Norwegians have won a distance World Cup this season alone. So Gus Schumacher about to start his journey to a huge cheer. Gus Schumacher, here he is. What can he provide? What can he give the spectators today? He did win Junior World Championships, 10 kilometer in classic style, maybe a little better classic still as he's progressing, but he'll certainly be up for this today.
And he had such a strong qualifier, so he was 4th fastest in the sprint qualifier. Didn't translate that through the rounds, but I think, again, the speed is there, the good feelings are there.
And that good feelings are so important. And I think Remy Lindholm, here he is, the 26-year-old from Bukati. He's had his personal best this year. That was in Östersund, same distance, same technique. Has he got the confidence and the courage to try and better that today?
I think the times are looking pretty fast here. We're seeing just under 7 minutes now through the 3.3K. So we're going to be, if they keep that speed up, under 21 minutes for the 10K here. And I think this type of course, without any huge climbs, it does lend itself to the times being put closer together as well.
It's going to be so tight, isn't it? Ilya Barb breaking free there. Comes from the, well, 80 kilometers north of Venice, south of the Dolomites. What a beautiful area that is. He's only 21 and he's in 2nd place in the under-23 standings. His experienced teammate, Federico Pellegrino, 2nd yesterday. And it's 13 years ago he touched his first podium in 2nd place. He did the same yesterday. What an athlete. They love him here.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying that the crowds all getting behind some of these non-American athletes as well, giving everyone a good cheer as they start.
So welcome back. Jules Chapin is leading. It's only 1.9 kilometers. Maloney and Joe Davies working. I was hoping Joe would tuck in behind.
Yeah, I think again, so Maloney Vesgaard's on his first lap there and Joe Davies is on the 2nd. So if you can stay with someone when you're on your 2nd and they're on their first, that tends to help you. So he's got to work hard because you do tend to slow a little bit lap on lap. Even if you get your pacing right, it's natural, there's a bit of attrition. So that's Antoine Cyr, I think, just heading off. They're likely to be best of the Canadians today. Most
likely, isn't it? We'll have to wait and see. 16th in Canmore, that was in Classic. I think he prefers just a little, the Classic ahead of Freestyle. He never sits still, does he? Jules Lapierre, 72 World Cups. This will be his 73rd. And it certainly looks in good form last weekend in Canada.
Yeah, the French love a skate interval start race. I think they'd like the whole circuit to be skate interval start races as well. Not quite so much as in the days of Magnificat and Gaillard, who, you'd sometimes see 5 French all in the top 10 at races like Davos. But I think this is going to suit Lapierre and it'll suit Lacalu as well, who's coming up shortly.
And I think, we always say when an athlete gets his first podium, far less a first win, which Jules Lapierre had on the final day of the Tour de Ski, fastest man up the climb Alpe d'Huez. That's released a lot of confidence.
It did, and they followed that up with the 3rd place in Goms a couple of weeks later. So as you say, it really it just gave him the belief that he could be on the podium, and I think that's that little 1-2% extra that you need.
Well, here he is, the first of the seeded athletes is William Peroma. Well, last year he came 3rd over the same distance in Le Rousse in France, and 3rd 50 kilometers at the World Championships. I'd love to see him on top of the podium. Gus Schumacher.
Yeah, nice skiing here. So when we had the course preview, Keegan Randall was talking about how important it is to ski the transitions. And you could see as Schumacher came down around the corner there, he was free skating. So he wasn't just staying in a tuck. He knew it was vital to make up time on these corners, these flowing sections. And I think this race is going to be won by seconds. So people have to be working every single section of the course.
Even split seconds, it's going to be so tight. You mentioned how tight it is at 3.3 kilometers. It's 3 laps of 3.3 today. Gus Schumacher, that's good. Only 2 seconds behind Jules Chapin. I love the way he's attacking this again, punching his way up this climb.
Yeah, it's as I say, it's not the longest climb, and it's steep. It's the kind of gradient you can just stay and skate to, but it's not easy.
Well, Hugo Lapalus, he stopped. You don't often see an athlete stopping, and if they do, they continue being stopped. So he stopped. He looked like he'd been sick, and he let the lead pack that he was in disappear last weekend. And then incredibly, we saw that he obviously made his way back down the hill, and then he carried on and came, what was it, 30th, I think, possibly even better.
It was completely bizarre. I've never seen anything like it in terms of, as you say, normally once they're out, they're out.
I thought he really needed a medical. 32-year-old Renaud J, 12th yesterday, so through to the semi-finals. Well, there's Kruger looking calm and composed. Yes, he was so annoyed, Kruger, wasn't he, when last week, because of the lack of timing equipment, which didn't make it, it became a mass start. Here's Andrew Musgrave. Come on, Andrew Musgrave. I think you'll love this today, Posey. I think he's up for this, and I think he could really challenge for a podium. I think he's got a good chance of a good day today. I'm just trying to have a see of athletes who are taking about sort of just under 7 minutes to come through. So I think that was Scott Patterson coming through there with him. So again, sometimes it's a little bit luck of the draw in these interval start races. Who can you hook up with on your laps that can give you some speed? So I think that was Scott Patterson we just saw coming through. And I think that Andrew Musgrave may well match up with Eric Valnes with fresh legs as he comes through for the first time 7 minutes later. Yeah, in some ways it's actually for Andrew. Going early can be a little bit of an advantage if he can on his second and third legs when he's feeling when he's starting to slow, if he can tag on the back of some of those later starting seeds, that could be a good day for him. Certainly could. I'm just looking further back. Well, no, sadly, Klæbo is bib 64, then Kruger second last of the seeds, Paul Goldberg the last of the seeded athletes. Yeah, it'll be around about Valnes, I think, if he's in that 7 minute marker. Friedrich Mock, great to see him. Fourth in Canmore, and I think this track really suits Friedrich Mock. Second overall in the Tour de Ski. He really is building his stature each season. Yeah. So just while we got a minute, while we're seeing some people getting ready, just to point out the 5.2k marker. So we're just over halfway. We've got 25 starters through, and Joe Davies 2 seconds in the lead in front of Jules Chapaz. So he's having a good race so far. That's a very good indicator. And yes, he is having a great outing. Seve de Campo, the 25-year-old from Australia, 65th yesterday in the time trial, which selected the best 30 into the finals of the sprint. Here is the yellow bib, Amundsen. I wonder, I felt that he's been looking so tired racing, just functioning on that strong mind that he has. We'll have to wait and see. He's been we'll have a look at Hivarin first, who I think, again, is probably not going to be his day. He is just so much better in classic than in skate. But he did have some quite respectable races last weekend, came 10th in Canmore. So on his day, can be up there in skate as well. And his first ever victory, of course, Perttu Hivarinen, just before Christmas. The two big names, I suppose, of the Norwegian, of the world of skating, Johannes Husklev Klæbo and Kruger. And such different contrast between the two of them. Klæbo, the sprinter, all about the tactics. I think Kruger's just about he loves the interval starts, as he said last week, and often he's won the brave way by just going hard off the front and making everyone else hurt. So really different contrasting styles, but both so successful. Very much so. We just saw Julian Smith heading off there, 37th in Canmore, 39th yesterday. More a sprinter. The track is going to get busy, and it's going to get even more busy as it progresses. Yeah, a lot of traffic out there now at the moment, so just trying to get a view. I don't know if Joe Davies has come past already, because he was with Maloney. Oh, he's just behind there, but I think he's going okay anyway. That's Maloney Vestgaard there, who was with Joe Davies, and he's doing his very best to hold on with Lapalus if he can. He'll have a good one as well today. Well, Lapalus is setting off aggressively, setting the best time at 1.9 kilometers. Derek DeLune, not long back, if I'm correct, from the Junior Worlds, 13th. And a member of the winning Canadian relay team in the under-23s. And hugely unexpected result, but, got to give him so much confidence for today. Oh, incredible. And I heard a big cheer, of course. He feels like he's racing at home here, and good luck to him on his journey. Kalle Halvarsson, what are we going to see today? He certainly has been able to win in the past, quite some time ago though, back in 2017, 10-kilometer freestyle. That's his last win in over 10 kilometers freestyle. That was in Lillehammer just before Christmas 2017. So Taubol, let's have a look. Coming up towards the finish, it's going to be fast. It should be challenging for the lead time. Yes, it will be. I think we're only, from this point, about 6 seconds. Well, it may well be tight. He's a sprinter. Where's the sprint? Come on, Taubol. Just 3 seconds ahead of Hinkfus, the Australian. That's a good, very good time from Hinkfus.
That's a fast time from Hinkfus. So he's actually in front of James Cluno, who's finished in 3rd at the moment, but only 6 seconds slower than Taubol there. So that's with just 10 finishers at the moment. So that time won't stand up. But yeah, good from the Australian.
Certainly is. Let's have a look. Sosau coming through. Look how tight. It is going to be so tight today. 1.1 ahead of Taubol. That won't last, with respect. It won't last the day for sure. And a time trial, it's very different. When you're all lined up together and charging around, you can feel, you can draft in behind athletes. This is you, entirely you, against the clock. So Felix Olivier Moreau from Canada, 22-year-old again, just learning experience. 53rd in Canmore last weekend. It's a daunting experience and a big day when you're wearing a World Cup bib in your early years. It's very nerve-wracking.
It is, and it's so much about the experience of it. And I think one of the difficult things in these individual starts is not getting carried away by the moment and just trying to find the pace for you. But that's hard when you've got Tunseth breathing down your neck.
Tunseth, we didn't really mention him earlier, but I really feel he's got a chance for a podium here today. It's him against the clock. No sprint finish. He doesn't need that today. It's against the clock. So Gus Schumacher, this looks a strong performance, coming up to 5.8 kilometers. Gus Schumacher, we saw him go through 48 now, coming past, and Maloney Westgaard, you can see leading.
He's having, Maloney Westgaard is having a good day for him. I know there's a lot of people to come through. We haven't seen any of the seeds yet, but at 6.6k, he is leading of those first 30 athletes with 11 seconds over Chapaz.
It's pretty good. So 5.8 coming up for Gus Schumacher.
Yeah, he's looking good here. Again, remember he's maintaining the speed really well into the bottom of the hill. So it's all about those transitions. So he's coming around the corner with nice, good speed. Going into skate 2, just about keeping that going over the top, which is still got some good oomph. And then again, the speed over the top of the hill is so vital, not letting it drop as you go into the downhill section.
Love the way he skied that, and especially that final little explosive drop, using all of his body weight to get some assistance, and then the muscles come into play. So Mikael Futtinger, an out-and-out sprinter, but this will be a tough experience for him today. Bib 61. So Futtinger just clicking his watch there so he can monitor the readings at the end of the day. From Salzburg. 20th last week, Futtinger in the sprints in Canmore. Joe Chapaz coming in, it will be a new best time. 5.9 seconds ahead of Joe Davies.
So it's a good time from Chapaz there, but as this race has gone on, I think it just shows how vital it is to get the pacing right, lap on lap. Chapaz and Davies have ended up a full 30 seconds in front of anyone else here. So, it was close for this first lap. The gaps were much, much tighter, but so far those two have managed to maintain that pace, the distance.
They haven't. I've just saw Andrew Musgrave there. He's gone through, of course, the 3.3 and 10 seconds off the lead time at that point.
Yeah, it is. I've still got belief. I think often his best races are when he starts steady and then he builds into it. I think the flip side is sometimes we'll see he's just off the podium and the gap is what the gap was at 2-3 kilometers in. So he's got to find a little bit of extra speed now.
Have a look at this, Amundsen. He'll catch a train. He's got the train already. Latching on, they know that yellow bib is going to be fast, and it's certainly going to, I think, yes, set the new best time at 1.9, so an aggressive start. Don't tell me I'm going to be wrong again, please. It's going to be close. Just, well, I was right this time. So 0.4 of a second for Amundsen, and he's got that train of athletes behind him. A great move there from
he's got Peroma and Hagström, so he's got two of the Swedes on his tail, and again, they're on their second and third laps. So
that is good news for Peroma.
Good news for Peroma.
Definitely is. Another of the Finns, Joni-Mäki. And again, with respect, more a sprinter. He was fifth in Canmore. Well, apologies, we've missed Johannes Husflut Klæbo start his race. Joni-Mäki 30 seconds behind him. But we'll get, I would imagine, Johannes Husflut Klæbo will set the best time at 1.9. I would expect we'll have to wait and see.
I think sometimes when he does his best interval starts, it's when he is a little bit more conservative. I think he knows that just because he's a sprinter, it's not about going fast from the gun. So always interested to see how he approaches the tactics for the interval starts.
Jens Burman broke away from the field last weekend. I think Peroma's going to just latch on there, take the pain.
This is going to be so hard for him to just try and maintain this pace, but if he can, he's going to have an absolutely fantastic race today.
It just makes the journey so much easier. Even though your legs are 3.3 kilometers spent compared to the athlete ahead of you, you've got that feeling of drafting. It just feels more relaxed in behind a fast athlete.
Yeah, so the time of Schumacher is standing up pretty well at the moment. So Peroma's starting to bring a little bit of time back. He's just 0.2 of a second behind now, and that gap's closed from earlier on, and that's showing the benefit that he's getting from being in behind Amundsen.
Well, here is the big name, Kruger. He was annoyed it wasn't a time trial last weekend, so he loves time trials. It was a mass start, but he still lifted his game for that one. Kruger, he's really a big competition athlete. We've seen that at the Olympics and the World Championships.
I think he's going to do. I think he likes the tough, hard courses. Somewhere like Canmore absolutely suits him down to the ground. But I think he's on such good form at the moment that he's got a good chance today as well. It's not as hilly, and he does like those long, hard climbs. But I still think we'll see him do well today.
Scott Patterson would love to have company. You can tell he's beginning to fatigue, but the brain is telling him, with the spectators alongside, to get a move on, to keep punching, to keep focused. I'm loving this track. We're seeing some good aspects of it. That's the steepest of climbs. Well, here is the athlete that won the overall distance cup at the end of last season. He's performing well again this season in second place in distance racing. It's Paul Goldberg. He's 170 points behind Amundsen, and Amundsen, as you can see, leading the way at 1.9. Halverson's in there, Peroma. It's very tight, as expected, at 1.9 kilometers.
It's so close, and the times are just brutally fast. The winning time at the moment is 21:18. I think we're going to end up under 21 minutes today.
Yes, I think we will. I'm feeling much more positive about Andrew Musgrave. He was 10.9 behind. He's now 6.4. So it's his modern way of racing, isn't it? He used to go out like an absolute bullet and then sort of fade in that last lap. He's completely turned that around. Here comes Klæbo.
What's your prediction on today? This is the question. I think
it's going to be close.
It's going to be close, but I think he'll ease more into it. I think that's my prediction.
Compared body language, though, to Amundsen, Klæbo is just so easy, so relaxed, and it won't be much of a margin here. Exactly what he needs to know.
Yeah, and he's got really nice skate too, but it's in control. It's not at full power yet. You can see it's just at the right kind of power. So 1.5 seconds behind. That's in the right place for him. I think that's good. And
when you compare the attack, when Amundsen came up there was tension, there was aggression. Klæbo's just looking so smooth. Great to see Maloney Vesgaard taking the lead time, that will probably be beaten. I would imagine it will be without a doubt, but a very good time, I think.
Yeah, 21:01, so 17 seconds in front of Shapaz, who until that time was leading. And Joe Davies still in third at the moment, so looking good for him at the halfway marker, just to say. Oh, Andrews just moved in front of him, so Andrews 6.4 seconds behind Schumacher, who's in the lead, and Joe 8 seconds down. But Andrew is moving up the rankings. I think he's approaching this race in the way that does work for him, but I think he's probably left himself a little bit much to do to be fully up there today.
We'll have to wait and see. And very lucky some of these other athletes in a train of, behind the stronger legs of an athlete starting. Well, this is actually an athlete starting much earlier. It's 37 trying to lead this train.
Yeah, I think behind that, though, I think we're going to see this coming past soon. That's Jens Berman, and then Vermeulen is on his tail as well. So for Vermeulen, if he can stay with Berman for these laps, this could be another good weekend for Berman. And then 38, which is Pellegrino, desperately starting to stay on. So Pellegrino's on his last lap here, and if he can stay with these two, again, just good day for him.
Pellegrino, he said he loves this track. It suits his style. He's very good cornering, very reactive skier. You need good reactions on this track.
Yeah, it's a very flat. That's actually quite nice. Can't quite see the top of that little corner there, but that's quite a nice angle. You can see they got uphill, a little down, a very short down and round, and then up again. So it's all about those transitions and managing the corners, keeping the speed going around the corners, attacking into the uphills, but also leaving something for over the top.
Very much. Here comes Kruger. It's not going to be the best time at 1.9, but you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if he has the best time on the finish line. Very comfortable, a little bit like Klæbo, absolutely in control, not attacking too hard the early stages of this tough climb here.
Yeah, seems to be happy to leave Halvarsson to do the work at the moment.
Stenshagen, well, Maloney Vestgaard will be delighted to take that big scalp. Schumacher, 8.6 ahead of Maloney Vestgaard. Sadly, Maloney Vestgaard has dropped down to second place. What a good outing from Schumacher.
That's a good day from Schumacher. I think I don't think that time will stand up, but I think he's done pretty well. And it's, pros and cons to being the early starters. As you say, you can maybe find some later athletes to ski with a little bit and get some good, get a ride off. But equally, you're kind of out there not knowing what kind of times you're looking for.
And I'm just thinking later on, Paul Goldberg, here he comes, won't be the fastest time up here, but it'll be very competitive. They're going to have, along with Klæbo, quite a lonely race. There's not much traffic on their last lap, and that can change the mindset a little as well. Paul Goldberg, very comfortable at 5.8 seconds behind. Yes, it's significant, but I think Amundsen, for me, was overpacing it. Ugo Lapalo is possibly the same. Well done. Make the most of it. Gus Schumacher, well done.
Well, Schumacher's time after one lap is just 1.2 seconds behind Amundsen. So the question is, has he paced it right? Is that time going to stack up over the course of the day? Or did he sort of slow down over the laps, and Amundsen, Lapalo, Halvarsson, Klæbo, some of these more experienced skiers, can they keep it going?
Be interesting to wait and see. I love this section of the course. There's undulations, there's dips and bumps, and you need to just relax around them, get the energy off each drop, each dip. Jules Lapierre still, as he always does, full of energy, full of attack.
Yeah, I think he probably likes it. I think Canmore was a good course for him as well. I think he's such a good climber. We've seen that from the Tour de Ski hill climb, and somewhere like Canmore seems to really suit those pure climbers. So, but I think he's a good skate skier, and technically he did really well in Goms as well, which had some quite tricky corners in it. So
it certainly did. Well, this is interesting. Gus Schumacher is now ahead, as you can see, 4.3 seconds ahead of Schumacher. So clearly, Gus Schumacher has had a very strong end section of his race.
That time he was standing up so well. I was thinking that it was looking good for him, but could that time stand the test of time? And when you start getting people like Amundsen coming in behind that time, that's when you've had a good race.
You can see the excitement. He's aware. He's been told that that Amundsen is slowing. I did think that Amundsen attacked the first 1.9 just a little too tense, but we'll have to wait and see. He can't contain his excitement, Gus Schumacher. Well.
It's going to be a good day whatever happens here for him. I think he's ahead of Pellegrino. Now Pellegrino's come in 10 seconds behind. Maloney Vestgaard's had an absolute blinder so far, still sitting in second. So as you say, lots of the seeds still to come, but this time from Schumacher is looking good at the moment.
I'm just thinking, I'm not saying it's a factor, a clean factor, but the track has broken up. The sun is now blazing down. It started at local time, of course, 10:30 in the morning, and I think it may have been a little advantage to go early today.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see. It doesn't look like it's too, too churned. We're not going through loads of sort of powder or anything, but it can definitely be getting slower if the temperatures are getting warmer.
Oh, I thought we both thought that. Well, Paroma, he had an efficient start. He picked up the pace second lap, but he's found it hard, it appears, on his final lap. And you know what? With big names like Paroma in, Schumacher must be feeling fantastic about that champion's chair.
And how good is this looking? I was questioning had Schumacher gone off too hard at the start. With 2 laps to go, Schumacher was 2 seconds in front of Paroma, and he's ended up 8 seconds. So he's taken time out of Paroma in that last lap. I don't think you can quite believe it.
Well, when Paroma's in good form, and that's a good indicator.
Yeah, it was crazy out there.
Crazy out there. It must have been a great experience to be an American athlete racing in the middle of the city of Minneapolis. So Eric Valnes, well, he's more a classic distance racer in classic style, but finding himself struggling today. Eric Valnes at just over half distance, 30 seconds. We can take that to maybe 45, 48 seconds when he crosses the line behind today's best.
Yeah, tough day, I think, for Valnes. Didn't feel good yesterday, and not today either. Lapalu 5th. Again, not bad, but this time from Schumacher is starting to look like it's going to stand a long time here.
Brother Musgrave is doing well. He's picked it up again. He's in 4th place at 8.5. Oh, come on. He's 6.8 seconds. In fact, no, 7.3 behind Schumacher at 8.5 kilometers. I think Schumacher had a very, very strong final couple of kilometers.
Absolutely, flying pair of skis and a very good finish as well. It's not all about the skis, it's about the person on them. And I think the track may be warming up a little bit, but I think, when we looked at the start, it was still below freezing.
Andrew Musgrave, he's moved up to 2nd place at 9.1. Here he comes. Come on, Andrew. Oh, it's certainly not going to challenge Schumacher today, but it's a good time from Andrew Musgrave. Oh, he's just dropped back a little from 9.1. 9.1 kilometers, he was 2nd place. And still a good performance there from Andrew Musgrave.
Yeah, that suggests he's maybe struggling on the downhill sections if the last kilometre of the course is predominantly downhill, so possibly didn't quite have the glide there.
So who have we got? Klæbo still looking very easy, very much in control with 5.8 kilometers.
But still behind Schumacher. Schumacher has got to be on the edge of his seat right about now. At 5.8 to be in front of Klæbo, in front of all these athletes, in front of Paroma, in front of Amundsen. He's got to be starting to think, is this going to happen?
Incredible. He had that 4th position in Davos, but that sprint racing just off the podium. Distance racing last weekend, 22nd. Absolutely incredible. He did have a 10th position, remember, back in Italy just after Christmas. Friedrich Moch has tried and failed. Look how tight it is. You did say, of course, this track profile and this short distance for men, it's going to be so tightly packed at the finish line.
It's a little bit hard to believe. And it's Schumacher, and all due respect as well, Maloney Vestgaard in 3rd at the moment. He's not a skate skier. His best results far and away in classics. So, these are unbelievable results from these 2 athletes.
Vermeulen looks like he's picking up his final pace here. Andrew Musgrave's time there was, 11 seconds behind. Joe Davies, that's a good performance, but he's already home and dry. 66, looks a little tired. I thought he'd be performing. Jens Burman, that was the Swedish athlete. Now then, Amundsen, he attacked this so firmly first time around. This is his 3rd time around now. He's still got a train of athletes behind him. This is 8.5 kilometers. Gus Schumacher's day is getting better and better. 5.6 behind. Gus Schumacher is absolutely incredible. The 23-year-old from Anchorage must be so excited.
What is going on? This is unbelievable. I think in that Kruger, this is so tight as well.
Is Kruger going to spoil the party? Well, it's touch and go. I mean, you don't really want to be more than 4 or 5 seconds behind at this stage, but I think Kruger advantaged through the later bit. He's getting all the information trackside.
Yeah, and Paroma, I think he was on the tails of Kruger, was it? I think Paroma certainly got a ride from someone that's helped him come up there. Schumacher pretty much did this himself. We didn't really see him skiing with anyone else the whole time.
It was a lonely day out there.
It was a lonely day.
Apart from the spectators. He's shaking his head now. You know, he's just beginning to realise the size of the achievement that he's put out there. He can't change what's happening now with Kruger and with Amundsen, but it's looking pretty good.
There's not a lot of people to come through some of these late markers yet. We've got 68 Kruger and Goldberg are through the 5.8. So at that 5.8 marker, all of the seeds are through, and he's winning by 0.2 of a second.
That's incredible. Klæbo was closer actually to Schumacher at 5.2, and now he's lost 4 seconds. I'm not saying it's a conditions day, but I'm quite sure that the sun now has lifted, and the track, you can see it more, not this section, but the steepest of climbs. You can see that going up that hill, the snow is a little deeper now. What a day. What a great day for the American cross-country team. Gus Schumacher leading the way, Paroma second, and the Irishman Maloney Vesgaard in 3rd place.
He's got to be wondering what on earth is going on as well. I think Paroma's had a couple of podiums in his time, but some of these other guys are going to be, scratching their head a bit and getting ready to celebrate tonight.
Incredible. Good time, certainly from Halfarsson, 13.9. It's not much in terms of time, but it's not on the podium. It's a 6th position for Halfarsson. Oh, it's incredible. I cannot believe Gus Schumacher is in almost disbelief. He doesn't want to watch anymore. See the tracks now. Earlier on, it was quite firm. They'd been prepared or pressed down, and they had been skied on, of course, but this sun has just raised up a little, and I'm quite sure it's changing the speed on the track.
I think it certainly was due to be above freezing sort of around midday or so. And that does make an impact, but I don't think he's got enough here.
No, Amundsen, it's not going to be enough. It's going to be tight though. It's maybe 3-4 seconds behind. Maybe moving ahead of Paroma. Well, he is. So Amundsen, 4.4 seconds. The man in yellow, the World Cup leader, is behind Schumacher. The crowd are just getting the ripple of information.
I think they're suddenly starting to realise that this time could stand up. I think when we saw Schumacher come in, I thought, yeah, good for the early starters, but we're going to see this getting beaten. And the more people that come, the more Schumacher can't believe either. He's looking at everyone crossing the line and just doesn't believe it.
Well, that's incredible. It's not over yet, though. Klæbo's still out there. We must keep an eye on the big names of Klæbo and, of course,
and you know what? Sometimes there's something about having the luck of the draw, but he's not gone that much earlier than everyone else. He wasn't bib 1, he was bib 35. He started, 4 minutes before the first of the seeded athletes. So
here comes this is 8.5 at 6.6 kilometers. Kruger was nearly 6 seconds behind, and Klæbo was 6.9. This is quite unbelievable. But when your name is Klæbo and you're only a few seconds behind, you can pick your game up. It's still not over at all for Schumacher.
I think ski speed is crucial here. Klæbo's brilliant on the downhill sections. He's good on those, but if he doesn't have the ski speed as well to go with that.
Turnstedt tried and has failed. Joe Davies, look at that position. Joe Davies is 13th today. Yes, he was bib 16, but he's 13th position in a World Cup. It's incredible.
I think we have to give some credit just to how well some of these starters have done. I think it has warmed up possibly a little bit, but we've seen bib 1, bib 2. These people aren't winning. It's the combination of a little bit earlier and an absolutely fantastic day out there that's making the difference.
He's beginning to realise the size of the achievement.
Thanks for letting me have 4 seconds ahead. Thanks for going easy.
Thanks for going easy. Amundsen's thinking, I killed myself out there. Was he taking the mickey? No, I think he was genuinely saying, thanks for that. Schumacher has had the race of his life at home.
on the perfect day to do so. I think he's been promising to do this. He's a world junior champion. He's had consistent results, but by consistent results, we're talking about top 20s being good. So suddenly to go from top 20s, you know, a 4th place in a sprint, to be on top, it's just another level.
Klæbo is now 8 seconds, 8.2 behind at 9.1 kilometers. I think Schumacher's day is going to get better and better. And I'm just trying to find, well, of course, Kruger's still to come through. Klæbo's 3 seconds behind Amundsen at 9.1 kilometers. Here's Kruger. Look at this, is where I think that you can see where the snow has become deeper and more wet and therefore more friction. Kruger is picking up his game. This is danger time for Schumacher. It really is danger time for Schumacher. It's only going to be, what, some 4, at best 5 seconds deficit. 5 exactly.
It's so tight between all of these. Kruger, Klæbo and Amundsen were all within a second of each other at this 8.5k marker. So can they find the speed on the downhills, the fast downhill section to make up that time? Amundsen couldn't do it, but can Klæbo and can Kruger.
Klæbo's always got great skis under his feet. We'll have to wait and see. It's going to be tight. It's going to be a very nervous, couple of minutes for Gus Schumacher. Beta Klee, that's a good time, 15th position. Here comes Klæbo.
He's not going to do it.
He's not going to do it. Oh, he's not.
No,
he needed to be over that.
He needed to, yeah.
Unbelievably, Gus Schumacher will be in absolute disbelief that the reality that Klæbo is not going to beat him today, and that could be a straight indicator that Kruger may not either. Klæbo is chasing 3rd place. He's got it, 6.5 behind. There's still Kruger out there. We mustn't forget Kruger's still going to come through the 9.1 kilometers. Klæbo can't believe it. Schumacher can't believe it.
No one can believe it. I can't believe it.
Oh my word, what a race. But just getting some information there. It's tight. It's really tight. At the finish line, we've still got Andrew Musgrave in 9th. Pellegrino in 8th position.
9.1, Kruger through 9.1, 7 seconds behind Schumacher. He's not going to do this. This is going to be Schumacher's day.
He's going to make history. Absolutely can't.
I think he's starting to realise now.
I cannot. Well, it's not over. Kruger, he's not a sprinter. It's unlikely that Kruger can do this. Give your teammates support in the biggest day of his skiing life, please.
I think this is so brilliant to see the whole team there as well. It feels like it's a team victory, and to see everyone behind him on this day, I just can't believe it.
Unbelievable. Jens Burman tried, and it's still a good performance. It won't be the best Swedish performance, actually. Paroma's that athlete, but the Swedes have had a good day on the tracks. I cannot believe it. Kruger still to come in, and I don't think Kruger can do it, so history in the making for Gus Schumacher, for the American team.
What a day. What a day. This is the kind of results that we want to see. New racers coming through, people taking advantage of home course. This is unbelievable.
Oh, it's not, of course, it's not going to make it.
He's got too long to go. He's going to be in this battle for the podium. Amundsen, Klæbo, they're all 4-6 seconds back. He's going to be close to that, but I don't think he's going to be on the podium here.
It's incredible. So the great Kruger, he was matching Schumacher further back in the early stages, but now finds himself 10 seconds behind. 10.2, in fact, and 7th position. It's so tight. 7 athletes within 10.2 seconds. Beyond belief. Gus Schumacher, we can safely say now, is the champion. He cannot believe it. In his best dream last night and expectations, you'd have thought maybe, just maybe, I can make a podium.
Goldberg's in the mix for the podium as well, but he's not going to do it. He came through 9.1, 6.6 seconds behind.
So Goldberg actually finishing firm as well. I discounted Goldberg. My apologies for that, but he's just going to be outside. Goldberg was 6.6 actually behind at 9.1 kilometers. He's going to be just pushing Klæbo down. He is. Johannes Husfeld Klæbo not on the podium, and it's confirmed. Where is he? There he is. And Jessie Diggins, well, this is her strength training before her race coming up soon. Gus Schumacher, is the winner today in Minneapolis over 10 kilometers in freestyle. Miracles can happen. Beyond belief. Absolutely so proud of what Gus Schumacher has done. He's only 23-year-old. He sat in that chair from bib 35. He's been there a long time, the champion's chair. And all the big names, all of the big names have gone over and absolutely been delighted for him. This is great news for the American team.
This is what.
Wow, steady, you're racing later.
This is why we have home World Cups. This is what the inspiration can do, and you know, it's for him, but it's so good for everyone on the team to believe that this can happen.
And you know what? He's such a positive guy. Gus said that he'd actually they're falling.
The rest of the team's going to be injured by the end of the day at this rate.
And you know, Gus was asked a couple of days ago. He said, you know, what's going to feel without Ben Ogden in the team? He said, you know, Ben is such a gel to the team with a big character. But Gus Schumacher now is he said, we're still a bonded team. We work well together, and I think he's proved that today. An American cross-country skier in America takes the win over 10 kilometers freestyle. Gus Schumacher, he's still in disbelief.
He's just, I think, so far from realizing. I think he does know now this has happened. There's no one that can come in to do this, but I don't think the realization has quite sunk in just yet.
Well, his best previous performance in distance racing was 10th position. And he started firm, he started strong, he kept that punch. It was a lonely race. It was the hardest possible race. He didn't latch on to many athletes. Well, it's been worthwhile for the 15, the 17,000 spectators trackside. And the Americans, and so many of the athletes have been saying it's just pure energy, pure positivity out there.
It's been worth the 23-year wait, I think, hasn't it? To get another World Cup back here.
Gus Schumacher, he was I mentioned at the start, the junior world champion, 10 kilometers classic style. That was in 2020. He now finds himself as a World Cup winner.
And he's been threatening to have good results for a while, but it's one thing to be on the door and the other thing to take your first ever podium beat, first place.
And look at the names. Harold Amundsen wearing yellow, the season's best athlete, is behind him by not by much, 4.4 seconds. Paul Goldberg, the distance athlete from last year, is third place, 5.8 seconds behind. A win is a win. I'm
a little bit in shock.
I'm still a bit speechless. But you know, when you've got that kind of energy trackside, you know, looking at it, because of his distance results this season, he was an early starter, his ranking in terms of distance racing, and he seized the opportunity.
I think so, and he skied whenever we didn't get so many glimpses of him because I think we were focused on other people, but he always looked good. I said about how well he was skiing the transitions. He obviously had a feel for the course and knew how important it was to work the different sections. I don't know the conditions played that much. I think, you know, there's some other early starters, Maloney Westgard,
you're
who
the
did
first
well, but
ever
that was all
man
on
to
him.
win a distance race from America. How does that feel?
Oh my God, it's like hard to believe, I think, and I'm just so grateful for this whole team and just like everyone being here, and it just feels like it represents such a big thing for our team, and yeah, I just really love doing it with these guys, and I hope this is the first of many, and yeah, this has been a great season. Thanks everybody for coming. This has been the best day ever.
How did you feel through this 10K?
Really good, and the cheering just got louder and louder, which I think helped the pacing. Like the second to last hill, the fans coordinated in a USA chant, and I just couldn't feel my body and knew I was going fast and knew I could go faster. And yeah, I didn't know I was gonna win this race, but I did everything I could every day, and yeah, everything just worked perfectly.
Congratulations, Gus.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Minneapolis. Thank you, Lopic Cup.
Thank you, Minneapolis. Well, as he said, you know, they gave him the rhythm over that last 900 meters, and he set a blazing pace. Very emotional, Gus Schumacher, and his first ever victory has not been on the podium to this point. He's had a fourth in sprint racing in Davos. His next best was 10th position, and that was over 22 kilometers just after Christmas. What an absolutely perfect day for Gus Schumacher.
Yeah, let's go!
He started so firm. We mentioned the dynamic drop through his body up the steepest of climbs. He was just metronome focus and efficiency, and he did have a lonely race in terms of athletes around him, very much just by chance of timing and where athletes were starting, and that doesn't make the journey easier.
No, it certainly doesn't, and he paced it to perfection. If you look at the halfway marker, he was leading, but by 0.2 of a second over Paroma. The gap to Amundsen, who ended up second, that was 4 seconds. He ended up 4 seconds in front, so he didn't lose any time on that second half. The times are so tight, though. Back to 10th place, we've got 13 seconds. So again, this course with less hills, a little not easier, but you know, not as much climb. It has made the times really compact together. But Schumacher's on top, but other than that, you know, we're seeing the same names up there, so I don't think we can say this is a total fluke. We've still got Amundsen, Goldberg.
Not at all. It certainly wasn't. It was an inspired day, wasn't it? A day where you lift your game, and partly due to the fact that it's been 23 years. He wasn't born, Gus Schumacher. He wasn't born when a World Cup last came to America. He was born in the summer. He was born in July, actually, the 25th of July, 2000. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. Paul Goldberg finishing third today and just knocking the great Johannes Husflug-Clabo off the podium.